Hello, this is Kevin from Passion for the Word. We got a new video for today, but before we start, I want to say thank you to all those that have been sharing our videos and supporting us with your prayers. At this stage of the game, sharing our videos and praying for us, if these videos are blessing you, that is hands down the best thing you can do for us. I also want to apologize. It's been about 2 weeks since we've done a video. That's not our intent, but we've been working on some other things in the ministry and figuring some things out with the camera and with videos and just some logistical things like that we've been working on, and life got in the way a little bit. But we're planning on doing several videos a week. That's the goal, and that's what we're going to try to get back to. Today we're going to cover the Big Bang. Now, a little background. The first 8 chapters of Genesis have always been very important to me. I've always been a lover of science. And as a kid growing up, the secularists had kind of taken over the word science and applied it to their religion of Big Bang, abiogenesis, evolution, and stated all these things are fact, that they're indisputable. The only thing that they have to work out is the minor details, but that there's no question about it, that they're fact. And that's so far from the truth, it's ridiculous. But I believed it. I didn't know any better. I mean, when you're taught from the time you're 4 years old that this is a fact, then you believe it's a fact. It was only after the veil was lifted from my eyes and I actually started applying real science to these things that I was able to accept the first 8 chapters as a possibility. If the first 8 chapters of the Bible are scientifically inaccurate, why would you even bother moving on to the rest of it? And that was my attitude on it. I didn't view the Bible as anything more than Roman mythology or Greek mythology. It was just a bunch of legends. It was only after I got rid of that hurdle of that science contradicted the Bible that I was actually able to grow and accept the rest of the Bible as a factual Word of God, something that you could base your life on. Now I can fully trust the Word of God. Today's topic is going to be the Big Bang and focusing on the scientific problems with it and talking about the creation account in that aspect. Now, we're not going to get into the age of the universe issue too heavily. That's another big topic. There's plenty of scientific evidence to show that there's no way it can be as old as what they're saying, whether you're talking about the Earth itself or the Sun or the universe as a whole. Suffice it to say that the biblical account puts the age of the universe at roughly 6,000 years, whereas secular mythology today puts it at around 13.7. It bounces around all the time. Every year you get a different number. One of my slides that I'll be showing you here in a little bit puts it at, I believe it's 18 to 20 million or billion years ago. That was just in 92, and they've changed it again. They keep saying they're getting more accurate, but their numbers are bouncing all over the place. True science doesn't do that. Now, the concept of the Big Bang is an idea that works on paper. But if you're familiar with the work of M.C. Escher, and if you're not, I suggest very cool stuff. M.C. Escher does these drawings that on paper look reasonable. But when you really look at them, you find some serious flaws with them. The Big Bang is just like that. Now, the two ideas between the Big Bang and biblical creation really boil down to 2 questions, or 2 choices. Either somebody made the world, or the world made itself. Now, both these views try to answer 3 main questions. Where did the matter come from? Where did the laws, gravity, Newton's laws of thermodynamics, so on, where did they come from, and why aren't they still evolving today? And lastly, where did the energy come from? Now, the word universe is really interesting when you break it down into its root meanings. Uni, meaning single, and verse meaning spoken word. Universe, or spoken sentence. A single spoken sentence. Kind of like in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, in this very first verse of the Bible, we have something very interesting. All 3 of those questions are answered right here. In the beginning, you have to, well, let's back up. For for the creation, for the universe, you have to have three things take place at the same time. And this is from Kent Hovind, brilliant man who's been a huge inspiration on me. Some of these slides are straight out of his talk. You have time, space, and matter. This continuum, they all have to take place at the exact same time. You can't have one without the other. You can't have space without time, or when would you put it? You can't have matter without space, or where would you put it? They all have to come into play at the exact same time. This verse covers that. The very first verse in the Bible. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth. There's matter. Right there, all three are answered. God spoke it. Only something that exists outside of time, space, and matter could do this. Now, before we talk about the Big Bang, we do have to cover Newton's first law of thermodynamics. This is a law, like all scientific laws, they know no exception. That's what makes them a law. Newton's first law of thermodynamics is matter and or energy cannot be created or destroyed. Now, what the Big Bang is supposed to be is an event that occurred at the very beginning of time. Now, in this slide here, they're claiming 18 to 20 billion years ago. That was in 92. Today, they're saying 13.7. Tomorrow, it'll be a different date. Who knows which way they're going to go this time. But they claim that all the matter in the universe was concentrated into a tiny dot, a dot smaller, much smaller than a period on this page. Okay, all the matter in the universe into that tiny dot. Now, some will go even further, and they'll claim that nothing, that the dot was literally nothing. Now, for no reason whatsoever, this nothing, or this period that's smaller than a period on a page, this singularity, explodes. Why? We don't know. They don't have an explanation for why. Why is this not happening today? Why is nothing exploding and creating universes everywhere? That'd be pretty dangerous. I mean, it could happen in your bedroom. A boom, just nothing could explode. Boom, a whole new universe is created. Why isn't this happening? Why did it happen then? They have no answers. Right off the bat, when we apply classical science, observable, testable, and repeatable, no one's ever observed this. And as far as testable and repeatable, no one has even taken a gallon of water and put it in a container the size of a period, let alone the rest of this. Now, of course, that doesn't prove it didn't happen. That just proves that to claim it happened is not scientific. The entire concept violates several laws. Another one of the laws it violates is that two objects can't occupy the same space. If you've got everything into a period, or into a dot the size of a period, obviously, you've got things occupying the same space. Imagine the impossibility of taking a gallon of water, just 1 gallon, and squeezing it into a container the size of a period on a page. That's not even going to get us close to where we need to be. What about an entire lake? Okay, that's even more ridiculous, but still, doesn't even get us close. You'd have to stop not a lake, not even an entire ocean, not even the entire planet. You'd have to put all the other planets, as well as our sun, as well as our entire galaxy, the Milky Way, along with all the other galaxies out there, and all the other suns or stars out there that may not be in a galaxy. All of that into this tiny dot, or this nothing. Put another way, everything in classical science says the Big Bang is impossible. Obviously, if all the matter and energy in the universe was at one time contained in a dot, or came about as a result of a nothing exploding, it would require one or more of these laws to be turned off and then turned back on. Well, who could do that? The Big Bang requires a miracle or several miracles, yet its followers deny the existence of miracles. Even after all this, the Big Bang still fails to answer the following questions. Where did the matter come from? Where did the laws come from? And why aren't they changing? And where did the energy come from? Then we have the problem of the law, yet another law, the law of angular momentum. Now this law basically states, among other things, that any object that's spinning, and the Big Bang singularity or point would have been spinning at a very high rate. That's the energy and everything. It would have been spinning extremely fast. I've never even read an RPM on it, but it would have been astronomical. So you've got the spinning dot. It explodes. Every piece that comes off of that would be spinning in the same direction. So if this piece here exploded and it's rotating clockwise, these pieces that come off of it would also be rotating clockwise. These pieces coming off that would also be rotating clockwise. Another part of the conservation of angular momentum is there's a relationship to the mass as well as the rotation. When we look at this, our sun contains 99% of the mass in our solar system, yet it only has 2% of the angular momentum. This confounds them. They can't explain this because it does not match their model at all. It proves their model inaccurate. Venus, Uranus, and Pluto rotate backwards from the opposite planet, from the other planets. Were there two Big Bang explosions? One with clockwise, and the other one with counterclockwise rotating masses? That's what this would imply. That's ridiculous. 8 of the 91 moons in our solar system rotate backwards of the rest. Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune have moons orbiting them rotating in different directions. And we have the second law of thermodynamics. Everything tends towards disorder. Now, the people that are pushing evolution will try to say that that doesn't apply to biology. That's a bunch of hooey. 54 next week. I assure you, my body's not getting better. My body is tending towards disorder. Any of you that are over 40, I'm sure you'll agree with me. You can't do everything you could do at 20. Your body is tending towards disorder. Biological systems are just as bound by Newton's second law of thermodynamics as any other aspect of science. Now, for the Big Bang to take place, each one of these, you've got to have, each one of these laws has to turn off for this to happen. You have to have an explosion creating things for the Big Bang to work. That's not what science says. Now, the next thing we have to look at is the overall feasibility. If the Big Bang did occur, is this the universe that it would have created? Now, to cover this, we're going to do a little bit of background on black holes because black holes are very similar to the Big Bang concept. The idea of the black hole, the Big Bang singularity, and we'll discuss that in just a second, would be like the mother of all black holes. Now, a black hole comes about from a star collapsing, and all the matter in that star collapses down to a tiny dot. That's the black hole. Now, the gravity around this black hole is so extreme and the mass is so compressed that nothing can escape it. There's a point of no escape called the event horizon. Now, it's at a distance away from it based on the mass and the amount of gravity. Things will fall towards the singularity, but once they cross this line here, this line called the event horizon, nothing escapes. That's the entire concept. No matter, once it crosses this line, can come out. Not even light can get out of there. Even time itself is warped by the gravity of the singularity. That's why it's called a black hole. You could never see one because light can't reflect from it. Once light crosses this boundary, it's gone. It's lost to the singularity. That's the very definition of it being a black hole. Nothing escapes. It eats everything that crosses the event horizon. For the Big Bang to take place, we have to violate even the laws of black holes. And I'm not saying black holes don't exist. They may or they may not. But the Big Bang event horizon would have to have all the matter escape. You've got to have the explosion, and each particle, every bit has to escape this. It has to do what what science has said can't happen in a black hole. The speed that it would be traveling at would be way beyond the speed of light. Remember, light can't escape this. So for anything to escape this, it has to be traveling faster than the speed of light. Yet another law broken. Science says that matter cannot travel at the speed of light. The explosion would have been so intense. It would have been unlike any other explosion. First of all, every explosion you've ever witnessed, whether in real life or on TV, has two things that differ from this. If it's on the Earth, as it explodes, you've got gravity of the Earth pulling everything back down, slowing it down and pulling it back down. It's also going into the air and hitting particles that are slowing it down. Even when you watch Star Wars and you see an explosion in space, it only goes so far because even in space, there are particles to slow that expansion down. In this case, there is literally nothing to slow it down. It has to be traveling faster than the speed of light to escape the event horizon. I don't know what speed it would have to go, but it'd have to be faster than that because light can't escape. Once it gets out here, you notice these particles, as they get farther away from the center, they're farther away from each other. They're going into nothingness to slow them down. By the time they get out here, who knows what the distance between the individual particles would be, but this explosion would be so massive, I don't think there'd even be atoms. I think we're talking about protons, neutrons, and electrons. They're going to come out here and they're just going to keep going. There's nothing to slow them down. As they expand, they're just getting farther and farther away. There's no chance for them to come back together and create planets or stars. I don't believe they can even create atoms. This explosion would launch this with so much violence and so much force that it just doesn't make sense that any of this could come back together. I mean, when I was a kid, I played with firecrackers. I never created anything with them but a mess. The Big Bang singularity would have many times more gravity than even the biggest black hole we're aware of today. And nothing can escape that. For the Big Bang to take place, we would need all the matter to escape it. The Big Bang explosion, I don't believe, would have created the universe that we see in front of us. I think what we would see today for a universe would be an ever-expanding and thinning massive, or not, hardly even call it mass, it wouldn't even be a gas, just an ever-expanding and ever-thinning layer of protons, neutrons, and electrons. And in the billions of years, they say, since it happened, I would bet there would be literally light years between individual electrons. No chance for them to get back together, and it would just be expanding forever. There'd be nothing to stop it. The gravity between the particles would be too weak to do anything with them. They've already escaped the greatest gravity just to get past the singularity. Long story short, if the Big Bang had happened, this isn't the universe that would have created. The only reason I think anybody buys the Big Bang is because the only other alternative, the only thing that makes sense is, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. That problem, or the problem with that, is that rule, that law, that saying, that concept, comes with a bunch of thou shalt nots. And those thou shalt nots make a lot of people very uncomfortable. That's it on the Big Bang. We'll have a video up shortly, sometime in the very near future, on age of the universe and age of the earth problems. And we'll have some others. And thank you for supporting us. And click like and share, and keep praying for us and keep sharing our videos. Thank you, and God bless.